Breonna Taylor. Well, like I said, we covered this. We've been speaking about this case for a long time. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the settlement that the family received. And now today, it looks like Louisville, Kentucky is on the verge of riots, literally as we are speaking. The indictment came out today, this afternoon. I believe it was at 1:30 time in Kentucky. And since then, we've seen a lot of turmoil. We're seeing that Louisville is basically bracing for riots. They've been boarding up a lot of the courts and a lot of their businesses. And so it is just about sundown in Kentucky right now. So literally, as we're covering this story, the sun is going down. And by the end of this show, we're going to see more about what is happening. There's a curfew order in effect. There's an emergency has been declared, but we're going to see if any of that does anything to stem the tide of the rioters and the burning and the looting and everything that we've been seeing for far too long. So we were talking about Breonna Taylor. Quick recap. These are the three officers who were involved. So we had Brett Hankinson. This officer was actually charged today, but the other two were not. We've got Jonathan Mattingly and we have Miles Cosgrove. You can see all three of these gentlemen here. A quick refresher on what happened in Breonna Taylor's case. So there was some issue about whether there was a no-knock warrant or a knock warrant. We're going to talk about that. But they were executing a warrant on Breonna Taylor's house. She was living with her boyfriend at the time, Kenneth Walker, who allegedly was under investigation for some sort of drug crimes. When they went to the residence to actually enter into Breonna Taylor's apartment, they had to break in. They claimed that they made a knock. Nobody came to the door, so they broke in. The two people who were first through the door, Jonathan Mattingly, so this guy right here in the middle, was the first officer who was actually through the door. And he enters into the apartment. He's looking down the hallway, and he sees Kenneth Walker, and he also sees Breonna Taylor down the hallway. They are, according to him, according to this officer, they have a gun. They have their arms raised, and they are pointing it his direction. He ends up getting shot in the leg, and so he fires back. At that same time, Miles Cosgrove is also sort of in the doorway, just about to come in. He's firing his rounds down the hallway also. And then Brett Hankinson is a detective, and he is still outside of the apartment building, but he also unloads. He fires 10 shots inside at the building. Now, Kenneth Walker never got, he wasn't killed. He was just investigated. He was arrested. He fired back. But Breonna Taylor was shot. There was some allegations that it was 5 times. They said today in the press conference that it was 6 times. And the public has been following this very, very closely. And it's actually gotten a lot more steam since George Floyd, since Jacob Blake, since Daniel Prude. People started to get more and more interest about Breonna Taylor, and for good reason. You know, she was a beautiful young girl. She just got her EMT. I mean, you see her with the pictures with flowers and everything like that, just ecstatic that she's making some accomplishments in life. And suddenly she is no longer with us. She's dead. We have these 3 cops who are not being charged with anything up until today. And so a few days ago, the Louisville Police Department canceled all off days and all vacations as the agency prepared for the Attorney General Daniel Cameron announcement regarding Breonna Taylor. So they are going into high alert. This is the memorandum that you'll see from the actual Chief of Police, Robert Schroeder. He says that in anticipation of this announcement, declaring a state of emergency for Louisville Metro Police Department to ensure that we have all the things that we need. Police functions, everybody being around, so emergency response plan, and so on. He goes on to say that this declaration includes all of these different things. It includes all of these other emergency provisions, and so on and so forth, basically indicating that this is a big deal. You know, this is going to be something that they are bracing hard for. The LMPD on Twitter said that they are basically warning anybody with businesses in Louisville that we're going to have to hunker down here. They're going to place vehicle barricades around Jefferson Square Park. They're going to restrict access. They're going to restrict traffic in these certain locations. They're going to be limiting parking garages and so on. Sorry for the inconvenience. We know it's going to cause difficulty, but we're trying to be proactive. And, you know, many people were thinking maybe this is overkill. We don't even know what the grand jury is going to do yet. This prosecutor still hasn't even announced anything. Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General, hasn't even told us what the charges are, but everybody kind of knew that regardless of what comes out of this case, unless all 3 guys are charged for murder, which was obviously not going to happen, that people are going to be upset about it. So I think that regardless of what happened today, they were probably going to protest one way or the other. It was not going to be good enough unless it was 100% they're all three being tried for murder, which wouldn't have been the appropriate charges. And the city was responding accordingly. So we see here, this is Gene Snyder U.S. Courthouse. They are barricading all of the windows there. And we've got some other, photograph. This is very a wild scene. This is not something that you see regularly. We've got this Shell station that's also been boarded up. You look around here, you can see all of these, convenience store windows are being boarded up. Everything's on lockdown. Over here, you can't even pump gas for the next few days as the city goes down on lockdown mode again. All of these businesses being boarded up. The streets are empty. Walgreens is also just basically, locked up, inaccessible. Police are setting up barricades, workers are out. Everybody is bracing. All of the streets are being locked down. And, this is high alert. This is literally what we're dealing with in our criminal justice system right now. People are very upset about it. The stakes are high, tensions are high, and we want to look in and say, what are these officers doing? What are these cops doing? So we had talked about Jonathan Mattingly. Rightfully, the protesters are upset. The rioters are upset. Doesn't justify any of their behavior or what they're doing to burn down innocent businesses and innocent court buildings and all of these other things. I understand they're upset, but that's not justified.